members of the Fourth Estate. We have assembled here once again today to throw light on the troubling developments in Liberia as it pertains to what we see as the abuse of judicial discretions, which have the propensity to undermine the peace and stability of the country. I will proceed to read from our prepared text of a release. The Congress for Democratic Change reiterates its unwavering commitment to the rule of law. This is a principle it upholds critically as a former ruling party and a key stakeholder in Liberia's collective well-being. Over the last 1 year, the CDC has engaged in negotiations with the owners of the property hosting its national headquarters. The location the CDC has occupied and invested in for more than 2 decades, for more than 20 years, to secure its purchase. These discussions culminated in a right of first refusal offered to the CDC in 2024, which the party duly accepted. However, when the CDC sought to conduct standard due diligence inquiries regarding the property, the landlord reacted with hostility, abruptly initiating an illegal evasion attempt through the civil law court at the Temple of Justice in 2024. The CDC, being duly cognizant of its rights under the law, challenged this illegal action by filing a bill of information with the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia, which in May 2025 ruled in favor of the CDC, affirming its legal tenancy under the Intertale Estate of Matos Tobofi Benar, represented by Mr. Ibrahim Van Dempster. Following this ruling in favor of the CDC by the Supreme Court of Liberia, the CDC formally notified the estate of Matos Tobofi Benar of its readiness to exercise its right of first refusal, as previously offered and accepted. Instead of proceeding with the lawful sale of the property hosting the CDC headquarters, the estate acted in bad faith, issuing a 1-week eviction notice to the CDC on June 2, 2025, demanding the CDC to vacate its headquarters of 20 years. This action violated the binding agreement of offer and acceptance between the two parties. In response, the CDC filed a suit for specific performance at the Civil Law Court Temple of Justice, seeking judicial enforcement of the sale contract. Shockingly, presiding Judge Darrell Smith dismissed the CDC case for specific performance without hearing its mandate. Shockingly, the presiding judge, George W. Smith, dismissed the CDC case without hearing its mandate for further violating section 11.2d of Liberia's Civil Procedure Law, the same court and the same judge entertained a suit in summary proceeding for property recovery, while the CDC pending case remained at the same civil law court unresolved. The CDC motion to dismiss on ground of pendency and a subsequent right of certiorari filed with the Chief of Justice, Her Honor C.N. Clinton Johnson, were both denied. These serious denials, without due consideration of the legal merits of the CDC case and arguments, constitute a gross abuse of judicial discretion, undermining the rule of law in the Republic of Liberia and threatening Liberia's democratic stability. The CDC has announced appeals to the Honorable Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia in both their specific performance and summary proceeding cases. The bill of exceptions for these two cases have been duly prepared and approved by George Smith and the CDC team of legal experts is finalizing the appeal process at the Supreme Court of Liberia in line with the law in this jurisdiction. Additionally, the CDC takes notes of a deeply troubling directive in George Smith's ruling, the unprecedented order mandating the Liberian National Police intervention. Rather than using the court sheriff in line with the laws and the practice in this jurisdiction. Because this is a civil property case. This departure from standard judicial procedure raises serious concern about judicial impartiality and the potential prejudice against the Congress for Democratic Change. While the CDC remains steadfast in its respect for the rule of law, it unequivocally condemns arbitrary judicial action and overreach that jeopardizes fairness and equity as the party works toward a lawful resolution of this matter at the Honorable Supreme Court. It urges all partisans to remain calm and patient. In preparation for all contingencies, as we expect that the appeal at the Supreme Court could go either way, the CDC is in the process of making arrangement for an orderly transition to a new national headquarters in the event where all our legal options have been exhausted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so I think we've listened to the press statement that was issued by the Congress of Democratic Change through its national chairman, Janga Edwasco. So we entertain maximum 5 questions for members of the press, and your questions should be in the confinement of what was read by the chairman on behalf of the People's Party. So you can raise your hand, you'll be recognized, state your name and the institution you work for, and proceed strictly to asking your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Chairman. My name is Sam Merovic Kato. I report for Insights Liberia. My question is, quite recently, the Civil Law Court carried out a ruling against the party that there should be an evasion. So what become of that evasion, sir?
So, like we said in the press statement, the Civil Law Code is in error. Like in 2024, you know, this is not the first time the Civil Law Code is trying to illegally invade the CDC. In 2024, the Civil Law Code again attempted to illegally invade the CDC, and the Civil Law Code did not succeed because the CDC fled to the Supreme Court. Because we know our rights under the law. We are a former ruling party. We govern this country for 6 years. So nobody can violate the rights of the CDC. And that's why last year, the Civil Law Code. So last year, the Civil Law Code attempted. All those things you saw on film is just a replay. It's a replay. And we are challenging because we know the legal process. And when we have exhausted all of the legal remedies available to us, we will work for our national headquarters because we are the party for the rule of law. But until all of those remedies are exhausted, we remain at the national headquarters.
Thank you.
I'm Jangako, I'm Jonah Freeman from the Manifest newspaper. As a renowned Anthony Alor, your statement of appeal to the Supreme Court full bench and some of the statements you made, it presupposes that you don't trust the judiciary for sure. This is the case. Interfering, do you foresee interfering from the level of the presidency? Always the judiciary sometimes has been robbed or racking other world, and you announce a party headquarters to be if efforts by the CDC have been exhausted.
So, I repeat, if we trust the judiciary, we trust the judiciary because we operate under the laws of the Republic of Liberia. We are citizens of Liberia. So when the Civil Law Code, when they sing Civil Law Code, ignore all of the rights of the CDC in 2024 and attempted to illegally invade the CDC, we fled to the Supreme Court. And we still have faith that the Supreme Court will give the CDC justice because the issues are very clear. We do not owe rent. We are not claiming ownership. We are only asserting our right of first refusal, which our landlord duly wrote and granted us. So today, our landlord is saying, no, you cannot get all the right to buy the property, you cannot get all the right to rent. And you see, we have made millions of dollars investment on this property. So the court, and we trust that the Honorable Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia will give the CDC relief. We trust. Because last year, under a lot of pressure, we know the government announced that they want to erase the CDC. So that started in 2024. And we have succeeded in preventing the government from interfering and illegally removing the CDC from here. The owner of that property, Mr. Ibrahim Vani Dempster, I met him, I traveled to Ghana to meet him in negotiation for this property. He's a very good man. He's a very good man. But he's being played with. The government is tampering with him. And we advise him stay under the political chicanery of the government. Stay under the political chicanery of the government because we are your tenants. We negotiated. You make conditions before you could offer us this place to buy. We satisfy those conditions. And we are staying here today waiting to buy the property. And the court, we expect the court will enforce that right.
A man's down.
So thank you, Buhari Simpano, report for Deans Liberia. In your last statement, Mr. Chairman, you made mention of time. do you care to further explicit on the length of time that you are taking an appeal for to the landlord of this property? And lastly, do you see this entire process to be a political one?
So, we see all of the rush to evade the CDC from its national headquarters because the Unity Party lost its headquarters. You see, it's a different scenario with the Unity Party. The Unity Party was not begging to buy its headquarters. The Unity Party was not begging to pay rent for its headquarters. The Unity Party were not in the position to keep their headquarters. They refused to keep it. In the case of the CDC, we are begging this landlord. I traveled to Ghana to meet with him. We negotiated, we sent emissaries, and we reached an agreement before a letter was written granting us the right of first refusal. So we are not a Unity Party. The Unity Party is an irresponsible party that governed the country for 12 years. They have not maintained a headquarters. The CDC has been at this headquarters for 20 years. That demonstrates the political stability of the CDC. That demonstrates the maturity of the CDC. Even when we were in power, said yes. We didn't abuse judicial power. We didn't use judicial overreach to take advantage of the owner of this property. Because we believe in the principle of the rule of law. And we call on the Unity Party government to stay clear. Because you have a country to govern. And as a former ruling party, we know how difficult it is to already govern the country. Do not invite undue chaos.
Thank you very much. I'm going to raise the SDR and I'm for Great TV. Mr. Chairman, you talk about, in your articulation, you talk about the government attended 2024 to invade CDC. Now, the civil law courts are honoring the Labrador National Police to come and invade CDC. And you said that this time around, CDC will not allow it. So if the government insists that they will invade CDC, what will you do? And what's the CDC saying on that?
So like in 2024, so 2025 is a replay of 2024. They see civil law code. They see letter to the police already in 2024. They see judgment attempt to illegally remove the CDC were also done in 2024. And we think there is a government conspiracy. We are asking the government stay clear. Because it is not in your interest, it's not in the interest of the country. Because they rush, you keep rushing to invade the CDC and you keep making errors. You keep making errors. You're not allowing the judicial process. In our opinion, we think the government is exerting undue pressure on the judiciary. And we call on the judiciary to remain steadfast. Because you are the bedrock for the stability of the country. And that's why in 2024, we fled to you. Just the conditions remain the same. In 2024, you attempted to enforce a 2016 ruling that had already been enforced. The civil law code, anybody saying that the civil law code as judge should know, or you should be legally trained enough to know that the 2016 ruling was already enforced. So your attempt to enforce it in 2024, even in the face of the glaring evidence, we filed a bill of information giving you information and you didn't know, because that's the same code. You have the records. But you ignore and wrote the police. Why are you even writing the police? Linking is civil matter. You writing the police, you involving the executive, you showing that you honor the influence of the executive. Because you got no reason to write the police. In your ruling, you put in the police, in your ruling, in your civil matter. It's a clear demonstration of judicial indiscretion and impartiality. And we are hopeful that the Honorable Supreme Court will give CDC relief. Because we are not claiming this property as owners. We only accepting our right to first refusal. That we negotiated. It took negotiation. It took satisfying preconditions. It took payment of some money for you to write. We didn't force you to write. You didn't write under duress. We sent emissaries for you in Ghana. Myself flew to Ghana, as party chairman flew to Ghana. And we negotiated before your lawyer wrote. So if the court does not take judicial notice of that, there is in gross error, and we are hopeful that we indicate in our period of exceptions that the Supreme Court will reverse the errors made by the Civil Law Code. That it did in the case of 2024.
So take the last concern.
So my name is Christopher Bestman, Honorable Chairman, and I report for Inside Liberia. Again, as a renowned Anthony Allo in this republic, don't you think that this evasion process of your party is in line with the principle of democracy and the rule of law? Follow up to that, you care to disclose to us your party New York headquarters address?
So, our party headquarters address means here. We have no option but to live by the laws of the country, and our remedy, we file abuse, and the judge knows that if you have under section 11.2 1D of the civil procedure law, when we file specific performance, you have to, on the same property with the same parties, you have to hear the summary proceeding. But because maybe of some influence or just the wrong exercise of judicial discretion, I will beg to use that term because I'm a lawyer. Taking of the court. Because you ignore the law of pendency. And you heard, you dismiss our summary proceedings, you file appeal, you file motion, you dismiss it, without hearing the merits of the case. That is not possible in Liberia because Liberia is a country of laws. We know that a 50-50 chance of maintaining the headquarters, either we can lose or win, but we will leave that judgment with the Honorable Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia, because we trust that the 5 justices will look at the merit of the CDC case, giving all of the investment, even from the side of equity. If you are selling this property, and you selling the property, you know that you are selling the property. So we've been here 20 years, we have invested. Naturally, we should have the right of first refusal. Beyond that, you documented, you wrote us, giving us that right. So why are you trying to withdraw that right illegally? And that's what we want for you to explain to the court. Why are you withdrawing the right of first refusal?